What's up, y'all? This is Misha Horsey. Here's another episode of the Business of Basketball. Listen, I can't, I'm so excited about this episode because I grew up on N1. I remember just being so inspired by N1, by the movement, by the culture. Long story short, this is Dexter Gordon. You are the brand director for N1, the co-CEO of Rucker Brand. There's so many questions I have, and probably a lot of people as they watch this are probably you're going to see all the comments.
Okay.
Thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to hear the history of N1, the rebuild of N1, and even just your journey of how you got to be where you are now. So again, thank you so much for being here, man.
Thank you for having me. First of all, congrats on your platform.
Thank you.
I love it. I saw it on social media, and I was like, I gotta get on there. And
yes.
We just happened to meet.
Yes.
At the we sponsored Gratz High School in Philly at the event.
Yep.
Friend of mine, Mike from Soul Pack.
Yes.
You
Shout
came
out
through
to
with
Mike.
Shout out to Mike. We crossed paths, and I'm here. We're
yes.
here.
Let's get it.
Thank you.
Let's go to the beginning of you played professional basketball,
Yep.
CBA.
Yep.
And for people who don't know what CBA is,
Before
can you
the G
explain?
League.
Yes, can you explain what that was?
Well, it was before the G League. I played originally from Texas, born in Mississippi, raised in Texas. Came here on a basketball scholarship to Brooklyn College. That's when they were D1. My senior year, I was drafted to the CBA. The CBA was one of the biggest, can you call it semi-pro league?
Yes.
But I actually had had to take one more year to get my degree. So in my mind, I'm thinking, what if you go off, you get injured, you can't, you don't have the money to go back to school. So, when I was in school, they were like, hey, we'll pay for that last year, but
Yep.
you can't leave and come back. So I said, let me get my degree. I passed up the CBA thing and I stayed and got my degree. And then I just, after a while, played, semi-pro, I played overseas, little semi-pro leagues in New York. They
Yep.
had one in Pennsylvania. But I got injured, tore some ligaments in my foot. But just traveling and just being in the sport of basketball, I got interested in the business of basketball, and that's one thing I preach to kids about. You don't have to dribble the basketball to get in the league per se.
Yes.
So me, getting into the business of basketball, I still was connected to NBA players and agents and going to the games. And, sometimes I'll find myself sitting at basketball events or games and say, wow, I'm really getting paid for this.
Right.
And once you love what you do, it's not a job anymore.
Yeah.
So to me, it's not even a job anymore. So I just love what I do.
And I mean, that's the reason why this platform was created, right? For the business side of basketball, people who stop playing ball and what's next? Who am I? What's my identity? So what intrigued you about the business of basketball?
Just seeing behind the scenes, everything from, the sneakers to everything, just like I said, meeting agents, meeting, guys, especially when you play summer league here in New York, you meet guys that play overseas and just hearing stories and just, hearing things about the sneaker game and just the sneaker companies and how they sign players. And I just became really intrigued with that. Man, I would love to do that because, of course, I love the sport, the game of basketball.
Yep.
So I was like, this is how I can stay close to it and stay in it.
So before you got to N1, I believe you were working with Converse.
Yep.
Can you tell me about that position? What did that entail? And how'd you get connected with Converse?
Well, a lot of my jobs, it's crazy that it stemmed from my ties to Rucker. My business partner, Chris Rucker, he's the grandson of Holcomb Rucker, Rucker Park, and we started our own Rucker brand. So we were pitching these bigger companies to come up under their umbrella. So one of the companies that we pitched was Converse. And we also pitched Jordan. When we pitched Jordan, a young lady that was working there who we were pitching it to, she gave me a call maybe 2 weeks later to say, hey, I gotta talk to you about something. I'm like, okay. She said, I just took the job at Converse. She said, talking to you, I see you know a lot about basketball and grassroots and what's going on out there. She was like, how'd you like to come work for Converse and be the head of grassroots? I was like, okay, cool. So that was my first, kind of job in the corporate basketball side.
What are some of the things that you had to do? Did you have to partner with I don't know if it was AAU at that point, right?
It was AAU, but it was more high school.
Got you, okay.
It was more it was more high school teams.
Okay.
after I left Converse, I still stayed in contact when we were still cool. Rucker, we started doing high school uniforms, and we didn't have footwear. So what I did, I connected back with my people from Converse, and I had all the high schools wearing Converse.
Got
So
you.
they were wearing like the Team Wades, they were wearing the Dwayne Wade sneakers, they were wearing different Converse sneakers. So they were wearing all the Converse sneakers. So that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, so similar work of like raising brand awareness, what you're doing now for N1,
yes,
similar to what you were doing with Converse.
Because Converse was, it was only known for Chucks, really.
Yes.
But back in the days, they used to wear Chucks.
They played in that, yeah.
The weapons with Julius Erving, with Magic and Bird, and Dr. J had his pro leathers, and so, but they were known as, those were shoes that my dad used to wear, my uncle used to wear. So
people wasn't think about hooping in that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when they signed D Wade, and they had like Kirk Heinrich, and they had a lot of young kids that they signed, I was just getting it back out there for the younger kids, which is, similar to what I'm doing with N1.
Right.
Where, they've heard of it, they see it on YouTube, but now I'm reconnecting, to the younger generation. Like as we were discussing, a lot of the kids are paying homage to N1, they don't even know it.
Yes.
Every kid has a mixtape now.
Everybody. That is like with all these tournaments, they're now coming with a package.
Yes.
Of like getting a highlight reel.
Yep.
To your point, they don't even know that like you guys would have, N1 was the birth child of that.
Yep.
Now let's go to their next journey of being a part of N1.
I went to N1 to pitch the Rucker brand.
Yes.
Of coming under the N1 umbrella.
Yes.
And they were saying, hey man, we're just trying to bring the brand back, trying to bring it back. We love that you know a lot about basketball, and would you want to come work with us?
Got you. Okay.
Started working with N1. And when I came in, they didn't really have a relationship with a lot of the OG guys. I was like,
so this was after all.
Yeah, this was like in, man, this probably had to be 2010, 2011.
Got you. So were you around at the time where it was kind of like, I wouldn't say be over, but like, like you said, it was that point when you were a part of it, it wasn't what it was before.
We never left the streetball way, but we were trying to get back into, being cool.
Yes.
Being cool. I mean, we never left. We were there because people don't understand that we have a big business in Walmart. And a lot of people look down on that. But you got to understand, everybody can't afford $120, $130 pair of sneakers, but people want to be a part of that movement. So you got to open that door for everybody.
Right.
And we believe, N1 is big on community.
Right.
Like we work with Walmart and partner with Walmart to do Paint the Parks, to give parks back to the community, to give shoes and apparel to these parents who can't afford it. But because, we're one of the only brands that, we were in Walmart and Foot Locker.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, my favorites were I forgot what the name was called. It was the most popular one.
Tai Chi.
Yeah, it had the white and then the red. Yes, exactly.
The one that Vince Carter won the dunk contest.
Yes.
Yeah, the Tai Chi.
What does it take to have a product in Walmart? Like, because they were selling it in Foot Locker before.
Yeah.
And then now that you're in a rebranding sort of stage of the brand, is that a pitch? Like, how does that work?
Walmart has been great partners. They've
been a long time
partnership.
Okay.
A long time partnership.
Got you.
Basically, the partnership is, hey guys, this is what we need. This is what's going on in basketball. This is what's going on.
Got you.
Or it might be where they see we have a cool shoe up here.
Right.
And we kind of make a kind of design it down, take some elements off to make it more affordable.
Got you.
For the for Walmart. But like I said, it's been a great partnership with us.
That's dope.
With us and Walmart, especially on the community side.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been great. It's been
for sure.
Beautiful. And now, now we're working towards, we've been talking to different, retailers and that mid-level and up, to bring back product. We actually have the Trash Talk tees we did some stuff with we did a collab with Mitchell and Ness.
Dope.
Where we brought back, a lot of the we brought back one of the mixtape tour uniforms with the jersey, the short. We brought back the Trash Talk tees. We were known for the shorts, the OG shorts. We brought back, jackets, hats, the bucket hats.
Yeah.
We also did a collab with Overtime Elite with the Trash Talk tees, where we had the kids come up with their own Trash Talk, But now we have some Trash Talk tees that are about to relaunch in Zoomies, which is a store for like the younger demographic. So that's gonna be cool.
That's dope.
That's dropping June 27th.
Got you.
Yeah, June 27th. That's dropping at Zoomy. So that's gonna be cool.
That's dope.
And then
So what?
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is it was a strong. It is
Yep.
and was back then
Yep.
a strong legacy.
Yep.
So what does it take to rebuild the brand so people are like, no, and one is still the shit.
You know what? I wouldn't even say rebuild. You just have to reintroduce it.
Got you.
We have to what we have to do now is kind of that bridge between the younger generation and the legacy.
Yeah.
So what we've done is we're signing some of the new streetball talent. We got a guy here from New York, Leaky Roof.
Mm-hmm.
Who is a legend in the making. We have our guy that we're doing our first event with on the West Coast, White Iverson.
Mm-hmm.
Another guy. We signed our first women's player, Alexis Morris.
LSU, right?
Yep, she won national championship with Angel Reese at LSU.
Mm-hmm.
We signed our first HBCU,
Mm-hmm.
Wilberforce University in Ohio.
And that's you provide them with sneakers, uniforms.
Apparel.
Yep.
A lot of marketing stuff we did with them. It's been great. And it was funny because people were like, man, wait a minute. That was the first HBCU that you guys sponsored? Because people knew us from the culture, hip hop. And so they was like, that's the first one? And I was like, yeah.
And what connected you to Wilberforce?
Well, I knew she is the head women's coach at Wilberforce, Rachel Norton. We worked with her on the first HBCU event that we did called Ball and HBCU, it's a girls and boys high school game. It's 24 boys, 24 girls, and basically they're from all over the country, and it's basically we introduced them to the HBCU culture. You have HBCU coaches recruiting players there, and just kind of letting them know about the HBCU culture. So that was a success for us.
Yeah.
And she got the head coaching job at Wilberforce.
Got you.
So she was like, hey, have you guys ever sponsored a HBCU? I was like, And she was like, yo, let's see what we can do. And thanks to her and, the Wilberforce community kind of welcomed us in. And it's been great.
Yeah. So is there a plan to keep it within the HBCU? Now that you have this school, what's the plan to expand to more schools, more opportunities?
We definitely want to kind of build the HBCU platform.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that it works for us, and it doesn't look forced. It's organic because of, we're in the culture.
Because of the culture. Yeah, exactly.
It's organic for us.
Yeah.
So that's something that we want to build on. We want to definitely build on women's basketball. We're having our first women's clinic, women's camp. And, the name of the camp is the T-shirt that we did. On the front, it says, you play like a girl. And on the back, it says, thank you. So, street ball and, has always been from a male perspective.
That was my next follow-up.
But girls play ball too. I mean,
and look where we are now.
Yes.
Yeah, and women's basketball.
We really want to build that platform because, like I said, a guy can go to any park and guys are playing, but, a lot of time girls have to schedule it. Hey, Garrett, let's meet at this park. Let's da-da-da. So, we're working on some things to kind of build that platform as well.
Because that doesn't exist.
Nope.
If you think about it,
it does not.
that would be the next wave.
Yes.
And when we think about how it all started, it started Streetball, it started with the mixtapes.
Yep.
And now that is the biggest thing that exists in basketball, particularly grassroots, and how people are even getting opportunities, right, to play in college. So I think that would be a great opportunity, a great wave to start, because if you think about it, when I was growing up, I had to wait my turn until I got the respect when I would play in the playgrounds of Philly. And even I don't know if you read Dawn Staley's book yet, but in Dawn Staley's book, she was like, all I would do every day is wait my turn. And I brought a basketball because I know the guys wanted to play with a basketball. And that was the way that I could play, street ball, play in the playgrounds. But that is a void that doesn't exist. And I think, too, going back to branding, I think what you're saying, too, with the branding piece is being in a community. And, what other ways have you found your expertise in branding? What are some things that worked and what are some tips that you would give somebody else when, creating a brand,
I mean,
that sticks?
A lot of the old ways don't work anymore. Now the playing field is kind of balanced with social media. You know, and sometimes a lot of OGs, you know, they're real stuck in their ways, but you can't be like that. You got to listen to these young kids, and you have to go where they are. Now you just kind of really have to be open-minded and kind of just kind of listen.
Yeah.
You know, and I love like when we go, when me and my team went to Wilberforce and just sitting with the men's and women's team and just kind of listening to the kids and hearing their language and hearing their, you know, just hearing the music they listen to is cool. You know, when we go to Gratz, because we sponsor the boys and girls teams at Gratz, it's kind of cool just to, you know, when we did media days for both teams where, you know, we did a dope photo shoot and then we did like dope video assets, and, you know, the kids were so happy just seeing them, and the energy was turned up and the music they were listening to.
Yeah.
So it's cool just to, you know, you got to keep learning.
Yeah.
You know, no matter how long you're in this business, I think you just have to keep learning.
Hey, y'all, it's officially here, the Business of Basketball Patreon. We are here to help you find your dream job in basketball. Look, I get it. When I was done playing basketball in college, I had no exposure to other opportunities that exist, or even a community to reach out to figure out what jobs or internships are available. We don't have that much exposure, so this platform is for you. And we wanted to create it so you can build community, find internship and job leads, and even get some personal development coaching to find out what job fits you the best. So the link is down below. Click it, join us in a community. This is going to help you find exactly where you want to be in the game of basketball. So N1, from my perspective, and you can let me know too, but in my perspective, it grew from the hip hop culture. Like when you added the music on top of the moves and the crowd and stuff like that, I think that's what built a lot of the excitement.
Yeah.
And then is your focus now with branding N1 today, is it the same focus in terms of, you know, keeping that culture feel, you know? So how do you think it grew from the beginning, and how do you think it's going to grow now?
That's a great question. You just have to keep learning, keep moving, because a lot of things, you know, back in the days, we used to have to spend 20, 30 grand for a magazine article. Now these kids don't read magazines like that. So now you have to get on this social media, all these, you know, different platforms. You know, I think we were talking before how a lot of people didn't realize that back in the days, the mixtapes broke a lot of music. People just thought it was the video stuff, the moves and this and that, but people didn't realize if you go back and listen to the music on that, a lot of major artists broke songs on those mixtapes.
Yes.
And, you know, I just think now we just have to keep, like I said, while paying homage to what we did, you know, but I think we just have to keep moving forward. So now it's crazy, you know, now we have to be on TikTok. I think, you know, for us to kind of connect, we have to be in every space, I think, from Streetball up to the NBA. And like we were talking before, that people don't realize in our heyday, over 40% of the players in the NBA wore N1. And they were all not signed to N1. They just wanted to be a part of the movement. You started seeing the guys with the N1 tattoo. You know, you started seeing a lot of the guys coming out to the mixtape games just to check it out.
Doing walkthroughs. I saw in an interview you did where you talked about the actual N1 logo and how you wanted it to be not about race, right? It was something that, and I thought that was so powerful. That's why I wanted to bring it to the show of like, you know, that is the brand, right? It's like basketball is for everyone. I always tell like basketball is genderless and raceless, right? So tell me about, you know, what you know about the history of the logo and why that was important to like just have a faceless, no race logo.
Basketball too is a sport. You can put 5 guys on a team. They might not speak the same language. They might not know each other, but they know when they get on the court, the goal is to get that ball in that hoop. So they're going to come together to do it. And with us, the logo, it wasn't about race. So that's why the logo is called Raceless Faceless, because every player can see themselves in it.
Right.
And one was, you know, all ball all the time. It was just, you know, no matter what color, what race, no matter, you know, nothing, we know you could connect with that logo.
Right.
You can connect with that logo, and you know it's about playing ball. And you know, when we did the trash talk tees, it was just so crazy that, you know, this was stuff that was going on in our neighborhoods, you know, back from the start.
Yep.
But to get it out to the masses and for everybody to kind of be like, wow, it was big. It was a cultural movement. It was a cultural movement.
It was.
Like,
it was similar to like AI, right? What AI did in the NBA. So everybody had the cornrows and the I mean, yes, it definitely was a cultural movement, and I think what you're doing now is really important. One of the like just questions that I have too, like, are you still going to continue the pickup, the open run? Tell me about where we are now with that.
We started back a couple of years ago with the open runs, just looking for new talent. But then, because, you kind of had COVID and a lot of stuff was going on. Now, I mean, the energy of Streetball is back. New York, they outside.
Yeah.
Woo, Lord,
I mean, you got Gersh.
They outside.
Dykeman.
Zone 6.
Yeah.
Queen of Harlem, Rucker, Dyke. I mean, you got so many leagues now that it's crazy. And that's how I found like Leaky, and that's how I found White Iverson, and just
from those.
I found them just looking on YouTube and seeing, okay, who's this next Streetball people? Who's these next people? And now if you look again, everybody has a mixtape, and you're seeing who these guys are. So we're doing this year, we're calling it park pull-ups, where we pulling up the parks and we want to see what the talent out there.
Nice.
The first one we're doing is June 28th. That's going to be in California, Colton, California. We're doing it with our guy. He signed and1, White Iverson. We're doing that with him. July 26th, we'll be here in New York, in Flushing in Queens with Leaky for Leaky Day. Leaky has a day that he does out in his projects, and it's just packed out there. And then we're doing one, a campus pull-up at Wilberforce at the HBCU that we sponsor.
Nice.
So we're going to bring that and one streetball culture to a HBCU.
Yeah, and
so that's going to be dope. I would love to bring the tour back, but it's a process, because you want to find those good players, because we were so used to players with
high level.
It's high level talent that were on the mixtape tour.
Yeah.
High level talent. So it's kind of taking us time, which I mean, we have time.
And what do you look for when you say, players that could potentially do a tour? If a player's out here like, that's me, like what are some things you looking for?
It's crazy that even when I look for NBA players, the NBA players that we've had signed from Lance Stevenson to Fred VanVleet to these guys that we had signed, I always look at, okay, this guy could play in the league, but if you could drop him in any park in America, would he get busy?
Right.
Because a lot of players, I've seen players that came to New York, and it's a whole different beast when that crowd is on you.
Yeah.
Because New York is different. A player might go play in another city at a pro-am or something, and they're like, oh my God, that's in New York. When they come, they like, oh my God, I'm about to get my name off of him.
Yeah.
I'm about to go at him.
Yeah.
And the crowd is on it, man. Some people fold. But I mean,
real.
If I think a player, you could drop him and he gonna get busy, like Lance will play. I mean, you've seen him in the big thing this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've seen him in the Beasley thing, and like Michael Beasley, though. Them guys, NBA talent, but you could drop them in any park in America, and they gonna give you that business.
Yeah.
So I kind of look at players like that. I'm starting to see some players. This kid J. Lou, I think he's from Florida. He's nice. This kid is real nice, and I'm starting to see like some players that out there that I think were like, okay, this kid could, he could really be. Yeah, he could go. He could be a part of that. And then I'm also looking at some women. Because Alexis Morris can hoop.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I remember from seeing her at LSU.
Yeah, she can hoop.
She a dog, too.
Yeah, she can hoop. She can hoop. And she got that dog, and she can hoop. So, like I said, we're doing our first camp with her, so that's going to be cool, and we're doing our the Ball and HBCU high school game. We're doing it in Richmond, Virginia at and1 family. Ben Wallace, he has a big facility down there in Virginia. So we're doing it.
Ben Wallace was...
He was and1.
I'm about to say he was wearing and1.
He was and1 his whole career.
Yeah.
He won a championship with Detroit, All-Star, Defensive Player of the Year, HBCU alum.
Yeah.
Undrafted. Now he's a Hall of Famer, but that's and1 family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I know you're the co-CEO of Rucker. So what does that position mean, and how were you able to make that connection? I know you said you were Chris Rucker. Yeah, y'all built a relationship. Yep. Right. So yeah, what does it mean to be co-CEO of that?
I mean, it's opened a lot of doors, because when you say Rucker, a lot of people like, you'll go to other cities and people will be like, I started this tournament because of Rucker.
Yeah.
Just what Rucker was doing.
Yes.
Chris and I, like I said, it's and him, he doesn't understand really another humble guy,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But when I introduce him, I say, "Oh, this Holcomb Rucker's grandson." People are like, "Oh my God!" Like I want to touch, you know,
Yeah.
Holcomb Rucker, like that
Yeah.
bloodline,
Yeah.
you know. So I mean, it's a beautiful thing for me to be involved with two brands that are about culture.
That's
and
what I
meant
was
so
about to
much to the
say.
basketball culture.
Yeah, you are in the middle of
Yeah.
two iconic
Yeah.
brands that is the culture of basketball, that
Yeah.
is streetball culture.
Yeah.
And so your current position as CEO, what is the day-to-day? What do you have to
Yeah.
do
Well,
in
I
that
mean,
position?
right now, you know, we're just working on different deals to, you know, because the big thing that we had was an apparel line.
Mhm.
And we did last summer, we did a collab with Slam because they had the big Slam high school game at Rucker Park.
Mhm.
So we released a collab with them. So, you know, really people come to us about different opportunities, but a lot of people don't understand that Rucker is just not a brand. That's my partner's last name. That's his grandfather. That's his legacy.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just finding the right partners. You know, hopefully in the future, you know, we're gonna do some stuff with And One. Because again, just those two iconic brands coming
Yeah.
together and doing some stuff, you know. But we looking, you know, just for the right opportunities with the apparel line, with doing some events at Rucker
Gotcha.
and things like that. So
And
yeah.
what, for maybe a young kid watching this,
Mhm.
what is the history of the Rucker? How did it get to be what it was and what it is?
Yep.
It means so much to the New
Yep.
York basketball culture and in our culture in general. But yeah, tell me what the history of that.
Well, Chris's grandfather, Holcomb Rucker, started the tournament just to keep kids out of trouble, keep them off the streets.
Yeah.
You know, he was big about education, and he started the tournament like, okay, just so you're not on the street, let's play some basketball.
Yeah.
And it just kind of kept growing, and like I said, you know, just salute and big ups, and you know, to Bob McCullough. He kind of after Chris's grandfather passed away, he kind of took over in the 70s and elevated it, you know, to, you know, Julius Erving and Connie Hawkins and Wilt and all these guys and Kareem and all these guys. That was his era. And then after that, in the 80s, Greg Marius, you know, God rest his soul, you know, who started the EBC. And he took it to the next level.
Yeah.
You know, with the Kobe's and the AIs, and you know, and he's the one really too that brought in the music.
Got it. Okay.
You know, because Greg was really into music. You know, I believe he was a rapper too. You know, in a group, and they started off by two rap crews playing the game. So he kind of brought in as well. You know, he took it to the next level. You know, with the Bad Boys and the Rough Riders and all of those.
Because every label essentially had
a team.
Because Terror Squad had a team.
Everybody, all the labels had a team.
Yeah.
So every week you come there, you know, Jay-Z pulled up with Beyonce to a game, and you know, he just took it to the next level where, you know, it was on NBA TV, and he had, you know, a big deal with Reebok, and you know, he just took it to the next level. That's what we're trying to do at And One.
Yeah.
You know, again, you're just trying to, you know, build off that legacy, but also now it's connecting with the youth.
Yeah.
You know, because now you got NIL.
Yes.
You got NIL, and you got and two.
Are you guys getting involved with that too?
Yeah, with NIL. You know, and two, it's now with brands, you don't just have to depend on NBA guys.
Right.
Now, too, what is moving the needle was NIL kids, influencers. You know, that's moving the needle now.
Yep.
So, you know, now you got to kind of switch up.
Yeah.
I'm excited about the future and, you know, what it holds, and continue to learning. I'm learning every day.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing, you know, kids understand. Keep learning.
Yes.
Keep learning, keep growing, developing skills, you know. And let's be honest, everybody's not going to make it to the NBA or WNBA. You know, it's just the percentages are small, very small.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, working with a brand or working with the league or working with an agent or working with, you're still close to the game you love.
Yes.
You're still entrenched in it.
I want to go to the career part of it too, of like, you know, for people listening who are inspired by your role, what skills that do you possess that have made you successful in this role? Successful being like you love what you do,
Yep.
and I'm hearing the really great things that you're currently doing with the N1 brand and with Rucker. So what skills do you have, would you say?
People skills, building relationships.
Yeah.
You got to really be a people person, and try to learn everything, because I had to learn, about shoes and apparel when I'm trying to sign a player. Because then a player, they say they want PEs, player exclusive shoes, with the colorways, and me kind of talking to designers and learning from. We have some great designers, just learning stuff from them. You kind of know the turnaround time, about when the samples can come and what we can and what we can't do, and what I even learned about sales, because I just through the business, when you add events during All-Star Weekend, when you add events, when the NBA draft comes here, a lot of the agents and stuff are here. You bump into a lot of people.
Yeah.
So you
got to pitch and
through the process, I've met a lot of people from retail stores. I'm not a salesperson, but I have relationships with people from Snipes and Foot Locker, and and even if I can start that relationship, off and then kind of pass it to a sales guy, sometimes I take it all the way through, because I can talk, the sales lingo, and I can talk, the design lingo. And a big thing in business is, I tell everybody, don't take stuff personal.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. It's tough, especially when you love what you do and you love the brand. And that's what I've learned, because I would sometimes, somebody saying no or something happening, it would stick with me.
Yeah.
And I would take it personal. But as I, been in the business for a minute, and I'm getting, older, you get more mature, and you kind of, okay, it's nothing personal. Okay, next, let's just keep going. It's just business.
So we have a segment on here called Grateful to the Game. Okay. And it basically talks about your experience, but whether playing and now working in the game. Mm-hmm. Why are you grateful to the game? And what are some things that the game has done for you?
Man, the game of basketball, like I said, I was raised in Texas, small town Lamarck, big up Lamarck. But basketball got me a scholarship, to get out of Lamarck. And, it was a blessing, because, my parents couldn't afford to pay for college. And it just so happened I came to, the fashion marketing capital of the world, New York. Mm-hmm. It was a big change for me. It's already a change when you're going from high school to college. But then just the culture. I was from a small town, so coming to New York and seeing the big lights and just seeing the people, and it was just different.
Yeah.
And then just playing college basketball and just traveling the country, just seeing, different schools and different people. And then just back in the days, that's in, we had the smaller sneaker stores, and, you seeing all these sneakers, and you just seeing, and like I said, I love basketball, but I kind of just fell in love with the business of it. And then, everybody here playing basketball, and just the summer leagues, and man, basketball is just so big. Like I when I first got it, I was like, wait a minute, we playing summer league outside? Yeah. What do you mean?
Yeah. On every park. It's like and
then you go to the park outside. And I'm like, wait a minute, they don't have nets? Right. Like, what are we doing? But I mean, but you understood after being here.
It's a true culture. It really is.
It's a culture.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for a lot, man. I love it.
What's one message you would give to the next generation of basketball players right now? Because they need it. They need
work hard.
Yeah.
Because I think when you're in the moment, you're always thinking, I could work out tomorrow. Mm. I could work out a little harder tomorrow. And it's so cliche, but play and practice like it's your last time every time. Because you just don't know. Mm-hmm. You just don't know. You just really don't know. And if God is giving you that gift to play, take advantage of it. Take full advantage of it. And two, again, small percentage make the league. So start thinking about it. I know a lot of people like, I didn't have a plan B, but start thinking about it, and even if you're younger, because if you're one of those top players, or even if you, or a top player, a lot of these sneaker companies are coming after you and they're giving you stuff. But I know it's hard to think about, but start thinking about, hey, maybe I can come intern. I want to learn about this business.
Yeah.
I want to learn what's going on. Don't just, you're happy about getting the boxes of stuff and all that. Kind of learn the business and kind of take in things that are going on around you and kind of learn the business. Ask a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
Ask a lot of questions because, a lot of people are open to giving you those gems and telling you what's going on. And I think that's what, I try to do.
I can attest to that too. Like as soon as we met, it was just an easy conversation.
Yeah.
I told you about this platform and you said, look, whatever you want me to do, however I can support you. And it's sometimes that's rare in this industry too.
Yeah.
But you're definitely a stand-up guy and mentorship has been everything for me too. Yeah. So I really appreciate your time being here today. I think that people are gonna learn about not only what you're doing with the brand, but they're gonna learn how to get into this industry. And that was really the intention of today, is just like to raise awareness to the brand that it still exists, that you're doing great things, that you have a lot going on. So if you can share how people can follow you, how people can follow N1, and just share. I know you talked about the things that you have coming up. What's the most immediate thing that you are looking for people to support? How can people follow you guys?
June 28th, we have the park pull-up in California, Colton, California. You can go to n1.com, and at the top of the page it says Park Pull-Ups. You click that. If you want to register, you can register for the the dunk contest and stuff like that. Or you can just come out. July. We'll be here in New York and Queens for Leaky Day.
And they can follow what's your social media handles?
D_Gordon 33. I think that's everything. That's
you got N1
IG,
has a page too, right?
N1, at N1. That's on IG. We're going to start doing more stuff with our TikTok, having a lot of challenges. Dope. Where we're going to challenge you to do some of the OG moves and stuff like that.
Nice.
So we got a lot of stuff, man.
And we also going to make sure that we put what you just mentioned in the show notes too, so people can just click right to the stuff that you have going on.
We got some entertainment stuff coming out too.
Yep.
We're going to start, doing some user-generated stuff to bring the mixtapes back out.
Let's go bring the mixtapes back.
So it's going to be not only basketball, but we're going to be looking for music. That's why we're bringing back N1 Entertainment. We got some other things that we're working on, some scripted series stuff, maybe bringing back mixtape tour stories, the podcast. So it's a lot of stuff we're working on.
Dope. That's what's up.
A lot of things we're working on, man. Thank you. I appreciate this.
Yeah, of course, man. That's a wrap. Thank you so much again for your time.
Thank you.
For pulling up. Like I said, you're a stand-up guy. I asked you one time and you said, let's make it happen.
Yep.
So I appreciate it. You guys make sure you subscribe to the channel. Drop any other additional questions that you may have on the episode when we drop it. We just launched our Patreon, patreon.com/Business of Basketball, where we will share a few bonus content from today's episode in any ways that you can be a brand director, get in basketball, any type of career stuff in the game. We got you. Thank you again for tuning in. That's a wrap. I'll see you on the next one. Got some quick picks, right? So hot sauce or skip to my Lou?
Ooh.
Rucker in the summer or NBA All-Star Weekend when it was not today, not the All-Star Weekend today, but back in the day. What would you choose? You have any iconic moments that you remember from both Rucker and N1 that still sit with you today? Besides resume building, building your resume and curating it to the job that you want, what would be someone's first step to be in your shoes? What would they need to do?